Hello everyone, my name is Amber Mace and I work for TPP, the Phoenix Partnership here in Horsforth in Leeds. So prior to working at TPP, I had no previous experience whatsoever in the IT and technology industry. When I was at school, I actually wanted to pursue a career in science. So for my A-levels, I studied chemistry, biology and psychology. And I then went on to attend the University of Hull, where I studied pharmaceutical science for 3 years. And once I graduated from there, I moved back to Horsforth and I got a job for a pharmaceutical company. So the first job that I got, it was lab-based, like I say, for a pharmaceutical company. So it entailed a lot of testing, investigation. And after working there for around a year and a half, I decided that actually that wasn't something that I wanted to pursue as a career. And I started looking elsewhere for jobs in different industries. So didn't really know where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do. And I noticed that there was this brand new big building being built in Horsforth. And when the sign went up outside for TPP, I decided to look them up online and see who they were. So before working here, I'd never heard of TPP before. I'd never come across System 1 before. So like I say, I looked them up online and it sounded really interesting and it sounded like something that I had never done before, never come across before, and like I say, a little bit outside of my comfort zone. So I applied for a job and I started working here in 2017. So TPP, what we do is we supply and create the clinical software System 1, and it's currently used across the UK by over 7,000 organisations, and it's also used internationally as well. So my role here, I am a product support specialist. So my main role includes being the support contact for all users of System 1. So we will be their first point of contact, whether that be end users of System 1, their local trainers, local help desks, CCGs, trusts, and so on and so forth. So they will log all types of calls with us. They will log requests, so any training requests, if they need any assistance with understanding how something works within the system. They'll also log any issues that they have with the system, so if something's not working correctly, and also development requests as well. So being the point of contact for end users, we get to hear from end users and understand how they work, how they use the system in real life. And so if they think that something could maybe work better, something that could assist their workflows more, then that is something that we would take on board. And we would obviously test that, scope that, and then implement that into the system. Another one of my roles here is service management. So I liaise with NHS Digital service leads quite regularly. I also provide them with monthly reports of everything that is logged through to the product support specialists. And I also negotiate contracts as well. So at the moment, we're currently in the process of negotiating a new service management standard. And another thing that my team do is that we build national reports for use across System 1 for all end users. For example, each year there is a new version of QoF. So QoF is used by GP practices and it's used for payment. So they get paid for carrying out certain work that's required for certain cohorts of patients. And each year NHS Digital will publish new business rules for each indicator. So for example, you've got asthma, diabetes, depression, things like that. And they produce new business rules and we have to build reports and implement them into the system. So like I said previously, before I started working at TPP, I didn't have any experience whatsoever. Working here, it is sort of, you are learning something new every day and you do learn along the way. And I think that makes it so much more interesting and exciting. I mean, I've been here now for just over 3 years, and I've learned so much in such a short space of time. And I know that in the future, I've still got so much more to learn as well. So if you are thinking of entering this industry and you don't have any previous experience, don't let that hold you back. I strongly encourage for you to go for it.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole and I'm an IT consultant with FTM Group. My journey into tech is one that happened a little bit by accident. I actually left high school and started to pursue a degree in art and design, but after around a year realised that this wasn't a career for me long term, so I moved to Glasgow and did my undergraduate degree at the University of Glasgow in psychology. After that, I went on to the University of Strathclyde and did a master's, but this time in HR and international management. I got about 2 weeks into my master's before I realised that I didn't really want to do HR long term either, but I did complete my degree. And after that, I started to work in recruitment for FDM Group. So FDM Group is a company that take graduates, they put them through a short training period, and then you go out on site with clients to gain experience for the 2-year graduate programme. So I was working as internally as a recruiter, and I also did university partnerships, so it's kind of events with universities. And I had asked if I could do a couple of weeks of the training programme so that I could better explain it to my candidates. I did SQL to start off with, and I absolutely loved it. I was hooked from the first day, really. So then I asked if I could do Unix as well to try that, and it was the same with Unix. So at that stage, I kind of knew that this was something I wanted to pursue. I hadn't considered a career in tech before now, simply because I didn't have a technical background, and I really felt that was something that was required to be able to get a technical job, but with FDM Group they don't require you to have a specific degree background for any of their roles. So I started to go to tech meetups within Glasgow. There's a really great tech community up here. I was really good friends with some of the technical trainers within the FDM Academy as well, and they were really supportive. I started to teach myself a little bit on the side, and at the end of last year I was able to transition fully into the graduate programme to complete my Java development training. So I finished that at the end of January this year, and the following Monday I started on site with RBS Group, which is now NatWest Group, as a developer / technical analyst. So my role is essentially to code and maintain the business rules, particularly around personal borrowing. And I have been doing this role mostly from home. I was only in the job about 5 or 6 weeks, I think, before the UK went into lockdown. So that was quite a steep learning curve. But I am super lucky that I am in an incredibly supportive team, and they have made my transition into the role really, really easy. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't really nervous when I was first starting. I probably had a bit of like the kind of classic imposter syndrome. It was weighing kind of on my mind a little bit that I didn't come from a technical background, but I basically was given small tasks to do to start off with, and as my knowledge grew and as time went on, I've been given more and more responsibility within the team. I also have an incredibly supportive line manager who is really keen for me to keep on top of new tech and use any spare time that I have within my days to continue to upskill and stay relevant to, whatever languages, etc. that I'm interested in, simply because I do work with quite a few legacy systems and older software within my day-to-day role. So I'm really grateful that he definitely has my progression at the forefront of his mind. And it's something that I'm able to continue to work on. For me, it was really important to find a role that I would have opportunity to progress within, but also that I wouldn't get bored of. You can probably tell from my education background that I do tend to get bored quite quickly of things, but I feel that within tech there's so many opportunities and so many avenues that you can go down. I know people who have gone from developers into more technical project management, others who have gone down more the software engineering route, others who have gone down a more DevOps side of things. I just feel like there's never going to be a point where you have learned everything there is to know. And for me, that's what keeps me here. It keeps me going. And it's definitely something that I probably wouldn't have believed you if you had told me I'd be doing this a few years ago, but I'm incredibly glad that I found it.
Hi, I'm Kelly Jackson and I work for DMW Group as a business transformation consultant. During my talk for Women in Leeds Digital, I'm going to share the 3 key lessons that I've learned on how to succeed in the digital industry. But before I do, I'd love to tell you where I started. Here is a picture of me leaping for joy. I've always loved dancing and it was and still is my source of energy. But at the age of 16, I got given a dance scholarship and I had to decide whether to go down the professional route or the dancing route. And I chose A-levels that truly sparked my interest: business, maths, English and psychology. Although statistics was intriguing to learn, it became apparent that I just had a passion for business. And I also found during my time at sixth form the core values that would help guide me through the next steps of my journey: having a curiosity in business, a real interest in people, and a desire to have a work-life balance and live in the north of England. I then decided to study management with marketing at the University of Leeds Business School. And during my time at uni, I relished every opportunity that I could, from taking part in different dance societies to volunteering for the business school and taking part in different business challenges. But I just had a thirst to learn more and I was desperate to get out into the real world and earn some money. I became one of 5 in the UK to complete a John Lewis industrial retail placement, and I very quickly learned that theory only gets you so far when you're leading people. I then became one of 3 retail management graduates in the UK and I completed various rotations across the north of England. I then progressed to being a senior leader of a John Lewis shop. During my time being a senior leader, I led the shop through a full transformation of people, ways of working and culture, and this was part of John Lewis's reinvention strategy for their shops. I learned during this time what it truly took to transform a business, and as a result of the trial, I then got asked to consult shops up and down the country on how to do the same. And during this part of my journey, I spent the most time that I'd had so far out of my comfort zone. I had people at various stages question my age and skills, and one person say, "But what do you know? You've only been around for 2 years." Despite that, I'd found a new passion for consulting and helping different businesses to be set up for success. And I remember being on the train back from one meeting and thinking that I needed to grow this passion wider than just the retail industry and do it in a faster growing industry across a wider breadth of sectors in a business that would truly match my values. And that's when I joined DMW. And joining a new company and a new industry was really daunting at first, but I got some credentials under my belt to build the foundation knowledge of technology. Before I knew it, I was consulting on major IT transformation programmes, not only in the retail sector, but also in the public sector. And what I can say about my experience so far is that no matter what complex IT problem I've come up against in these programmes, clients still go through the same challenges that I saw myself when I was leading a transformation. And what I love most about my job in digital is that I can take what I've learned and help clients of all natures and sizes to understand that effective change isn't just about the technology. And when I reflect on my journey so far and my job in digital, the biggest thing that I've learned is that to be digital means different things to different people. For me, it's about organisations being at the forefront of a fast-paced world and having their people ready to respond and adapt to technology. For you, it might mean something entirely different. But if you, 1, be a constant learner, 2, find your passion, and 3, most importantly, define what being digital can mean for you, you'll be set up for success. So thank you for listening to my talk today. I would love you to send me a message on LinkedIn if you'd like to find out more, or if we can go for a coffee when we're physically able to. I'd love to help you define what being digital can mean for you.
Hello, my name's Rima Vidolia and I work at the Data Shed currently as a data analyst, and I'm also a director at Inc360. So today I'll talk about my journey into tech, how I ended up at the Data Shed, and also running something as a project on the side as well. So I never knew what I wanted to do growing up. I guess I have figured that out in a very broad sense just now. But I was always very reluctant to be in a job sat behind a desk. As it turns out now, I love doing that. I love sitting behind a computer and problem solving. But my background is in mathematics, so I completed a mathematics degree at the University of Leeds, which is how I ended up in Leeds. Probably tell by my not northern voice that I'm from the south. It was a very easy move for me to come up to Leeds. I really enjoy the city and it's a really fun place to be. There's a lot of community here and also a lot of opportunity. So in my final year as a maths student, I was looking for jobs desperately. I was hoping that, actually if I couldn't find a job, then I'd just go travelling with the zero money that I had, and I'd already spent a year abroad studying in Canada as well, so I'd definitely caught the bug for travelling and being abroad. But I managed to find a data analyst internship at isolly.com. They were looking for someone who had problem solving skills and an analytical mind, and so whilst I'd never done data analytics before or heard of it, I thought the spec was very much focused around skills that I believed that I had. I put my CV in, got an interview obviously, and then got the job, which was great. I learned so much at iSolly. One of the biggest things I would say is I asked so many questions. I tried my best to understand the wider context of the business and not just the bit that I worked in, and I think that really led to my success at the company. It is a digital marketing company, and so that was my first real introduction into digital marketing and indeed data analytics. So fast forward a little bit, having spent almost 2 years at iSolly, I then found out about the Data Shed. So I met them at a couple of different events and asked outright Anna, the CEO, for a job because I really believed in the way that they were working and the company ethos they had. Again, fast forward a little bit, interview done. I started at the Data Shed. I've been there for 2 years now as well. And I really love my job. So data analytics, if you're not sure, is basically a really interesting way to solve problems using data. You don't have to have a maths degree, as much as I do have one, to be able to work within data analytics. I think the key thing that I would say is it's about bringing together numbers and statistics with business knowledge to try and get the best out of data to drive business performance. So none of that scary stuff that you see, sort of AI and machine learning, doesn't necessarily have to all be around that. It can be sort of around report building and things like that. So if you're interested in data analytics, more than welcome to speak to me on LinkedIn about that, and just really quickly talk to you about my role at Inc360. So through the Data Shed, I met a lovely person called Steph, and we worked together on Inc360, which is a community interest company that helps children who are in situations of isolation to feel a bit of temporary relief. And what we do is film 360-degree video of events in the local community and bring these into children who are in hospices or hospitals. So we've recently launched a crowdfunder, and what we've done now is started to work on the next phase, which is the pilot phase. And one thing that I would say is that I never expected to be the sort of person who would be, working 9 to 5 and then working on the evenings too. But the reason why I can do it, and it really is sort of it's not easy, it's challenging, is because I'm really passionate about both of these projects. So not just my day job, and I really love data with the challenges it brings, and the fact that it's never, no 2 days are the same, and you can really sort of apply your skills and working with the team and working with different clients. But with Inc 360, I love working to help people, and it's a really great project to do so. So I hope that this will inspire you to take on some projects or find yourself in a career within data and analytics. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Josh, the founder and managing director at Jublo. I know some of you might think that university is the only route into the digital sector, but it certainly isn't, as it's not the route that I took. So how did I get into digital? Well, I knew from a very young age that I had a passion for technology, and there is this really fond memory of mine where in primary school we had the opportunity to program a traffic light. And watching the sequence go from the computer to the traffic light, and the traffic light then replicating the sequence, really sparked a curiosity in me into how things worked. And as a result, I used to take things apart and put them back together again just to figure out how they worked. As I got older, and with help from my friends online, I would taught myself how to build websites. This led me at the age of 14 to set up Jublo for the projects and open source libraries that we were building. This was one of the first opportunities for me to put the technical skills into real world use, and over the next few years we had a number of projects that were successful. After failing my A-levels at 17, I realised that classroom education was no longer for me, and I wanted to get some hands-on experience in the real world. I didn't let this dishearten me, so I began working for a vehicle tracking company where I developed their sales and tracking platform. I had the opportunity to work with some amazing developers where I enhanced my knowledge in infrastructure and scaling workloads. I also learned a lot from the MD Chris about how to grow a successful business and admired his entrepreneurial mindset. After I turned 21, I moved on and joined a marketing automation company where I set up their technical account management team. It was here that I learned a lot about how to manage people, get the most of them, and keep calm and a level head when making decisions quickly. I then went on to become their head of technology and was responsible for managing both in-house and remote teams of developers, some of which were much older than me, and it took a bit of time getting used to it. At 23, I moved to Skybet as a software engineer and was later promoted to be solutions architect, which taught me a lot about larger scale operations, how their systems work, their platforms, and how they integrate into each other. It was a great learning curve for me, as I'd previously only worked in smaller startups, and it was great to see how a much larger company operated. Throughout my career, I kept developing Jublo alongside my German business partner. We began to sell our coding skills in around 2014, and in 2016 we moved into providing language translations for global companies. In April 2019 I was made redundant, and whilst it was initially daunting, I'd always wanted to work for myself, and it really gave me the opportunity to focus on Jublo full time and apply everything that I'd learned from the companies and people I'd worked for over the past 10 years. I'm currently focusing on the operations and growth of the company so that we can continue the rapid growth we've seen over the last 12 months. Jublo currently has a core team of 6, but we work with over 160 partners across the globe to deliver both digital and linguistic projects. Due to my love of travelling, we built the business to be very agile, and as so remote working was our normality, which has really paid off over the last 8 months as we've managed to keep the wheels turning with minimal changes to how we work. I do think university is a great choice for some people, but if I think about what I've managed to achieve in the last decade, I feel sure that choosing to learn from the people around me and the people I admire, watching what they do well, and working from a young age has really been a more beneficial route for myself than classroom education. For anyone looking to start out in the digital world, I would recommend connecting with people you admire on LinkedIn and understanding their mindset, as a lot of business leaders today share a lot about this on their profiles. I'd recommend surrounding yourself with like-minded people who have the drive and the same passion as you will be you'll very easily be able to bounce ideas and problems off each other and grow your knowledge together. In normal times, this would be really easy, as there are plenty of meetups around the city, but I can see more of these are moving online. I'd also recommend applying yourself to a project that you enjoy, as it becomes much easier when you enjoy what you are doing. If you do have any questions around my journey, feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or you can even drop me an email and I would be happy to answer them.
Hi, my name's Rachel Fletcher. I'm a project coordinator at William Hill. My background has absolutely nothing to do with tech whatsoever. I actually did biology at uni and then got a lab job in a pharmaceutical company because I didn't really know what I wanted to do at the end of my degree, and it just kind of made sense. And then later on, I actually went back to uni to do a psychology master's because I thought I'll get into like mental health kind of roles. And then after I did my master's, I got a job in a hospital as a care support worker because I kind of thought I'll get experience in a clinical setting, see if it was for me. But what happened was, because I was also volunteering at a mental health charity and a helpline, I was taking things home, it was too much, it didn't work out for me, so I had to like change track because I had to make the call like this wasn't good for me. So I kind of played it safe and just got a job as a data analyst in a cancer research charity. I knew that was just like a stopgap kind of job, so I just used that time to figure out like, right, what do I want? What's important to me in a career? What am I good at? Because I realised I've been pigeonholing myself into like biology or psychology related jobs when that's not actually necessary. So when I kind of figured out what I wanted, I landed on the tech industry as being something that I'd be interested in. So I went along to lots of conferences, and these were really helpful to me because I was hearing about roles that I've never heard of before or just assumed were not possible for me to go into. But it made me confident in thinking I could apply for these jobs even though I don't have working experience in tech before. It doesn't just automatically exclude me. So for so long I just dismissed it. And I decided I wanted to use my experience in working with people to aim for the more kind of people-focused roles in tech, such as like Scrum Master, BA, Project Manager, that kind of thing. And to start with, I got so many rejections. I got a lot of rejections, right? But then I thought, right, okay, so I'm going to go for roles that maybe would be a good stepping stone into those eventually. And then it was easier after that, and I actually got my job now, which is project coordinator. So as part of that, I kind of keep tabs on like product teams across different tech departments, help them with roadmaps, create reports for different levels of the company. So it encompasses quite a lot of different things, which I really enjoy. And I enjoy that I'm talking to people across all the business, and I've worked really hard to kind of build those working relationships and keep them going, which is something I'm really proud of, and is really good experience for those roles I was talking about before. And now that I've actually been there nearly a year, I'm in a really good position now to actually go for those next steps. So if anyone's thinking maybe getting into tech but you don't have experience, like 100% I would encourage it. And don't be put off if you don't have the right experience, because it's a great place to learn and progress from whatever level you're at. And once you're in, whatever role you happen to get, if you show interest in certain areas, like managers might be able to get you some training or give you some good resources to look at. Because what I've found is that people are really supportive. It's such a great industry to be in for learning, upskilling, and you can shape your career however you want, which is the freedom a lot of people don't actually have in their industries. Something I want people to take away is that you might think that your experience isn't that relevant, but trust me, that's actually not true. Your experience in whatever subject, whatever sector is actually really valuable, because businesses need diversity, not just in gender and race and that kind of thing, because they're important, but also in backgrounds. You need people with different points of view and who think in different ways, because if everyone thought in the same way, it'd be really boring to work and tech wouldn't be where it is today. So embrace whatever experience you do have and just think about what's that taught me? What can I bring to the table that's a bit different? And also, lastly, don't be afraid to start again if you have to in a career path. I've done 4 times now. And this latest change is the best career decision I've made so far, and I'm really happy with where I'm going. So if anyone wants to chat, I'll be around, or drop me a message on LinkedIn, and thank you for listening.
I'm Ruth Berry, I'm 23 and I'm a software engineer at BGSS. So my route to becoming a software developer. So I grew up in a really small town, and there wasn't really that much exposure to programming or software. And I really loved ICT, but I fancied doing something a bit more. So one Christmas, my parents got me a Raspberry Pi, and then a few friends all clubbed together in ICT, and we tried to figure it out. We've not that much success, but it then kind of fused me to then want to study computing at college. And that was like my first proper experience of learning a language. And I really enjoyed it. So I actually toyed between doing music and computer science, as in I wasn't sure what to do for a degree. And cut a long story short, I ended up doing computer science and absolutely loved it. I had a big love for coding emerged. And what was great about my computer science degree is in it, instead of like presuming that everyone kind of knew how to code, it scrapped that, and it like revisited all the basics, and to give everyone exactly the same foundation, so that experience didn't matter and everyone was building on a really good foundation, which is really important. So yeah, I also had a really cool opportunity in first year. It's doing something called the Ada Lovelace Colloquium, and that was kind of submitting ideas that would change or be a bit different. So I thought, oh, maybe I can fuse my love with music and computer science together and programming together. So I did music for my A-levels, and there's these things called Bach chorales. So Bach wrote lots of chorales, and they're all rule-based. So I was like, oh, maybe you can like programming is rule-based, so let's fuse these two together. So in first year, I kind of created a theory that this could happen, and then passed it all the way to final year to then actually make this, which is I found really cool. So yeah, I also did a placement year, which is really helpful in a really small company. So it actually made me have to do quite a lot of stuff, and I was in charge of a lot of new clients' projects, and it allowed me to focus what I wanted to spend time on. So that was really cool. So I joined BGSS in 2019 in August, and I went through something called the Academy, which was a 4-week intense program with a lot of other grads all in Leeds. And it was great because it was a lot of so I learned lots of new approaches to software to what I wouldn't necessarily have known. And even from coming from a computer science background, there was technologies that I may not have done. So like cloud computing, or learned different languages, and I found that really cool. But also I got to learn about different aspects, so like not just my role. So I got to learn about BAs or Sparks. So Sparks like a UI, they do really cool stuff. And then business analysts, so when you join a project, you know exactly what everyone does. So rather than just being like, here's how to code, it was a bit more wider than that, which I found really good. And what was even better was the social aspect. So I'd come to a brand new city, I didn't know that many people, and it was a new company, and BGSS made that super easy. So that was really cool. Being a software engineer at BGSS, what do I love? Well, BGSS is a consultancy, so we have a lot of different projects. And each project has different technologies. So it's not all you're going to do Java, you're going to do C#. Every project is completely different, which is kind of cool. So then you have a lot of developers with different expertise, and that means that there's always going to be someone who knows something, which is great. So yeah, I actually just come off a project for a major UK health provider, and there was a lot of senior developers in, and I was actually treated on par with them, which is really cool, as in you wouldn't normally see that. And I was encouraged to pick up the tasks, or the really hard ones that maybe I wouldn't have wanted to do myself. And I got the really good support through that, which is great. And I got to learn lots of new technologies such as identity, and yeah, just build on what I already knew, and got to do that. So I found that really cool. And also BGSS have a really cool social aspect. So as in back before COVID, I got to do a lot of sports activities, and got to meet a lot of people outside the team. And also there's really cool talks that get to run internally, so that if someone has something they want to chat about, then there's always going to be stuff for that. So, or they're really encouraged to go and do a talk. So yeah, I have to say it's a really cool company, and I definitely love being a software engineer because there's always something to know. Thanks.